When something becomes a necessity, it then becomes an industry. Think about cars when they first started. Think about computers when they first started. And let's not go that far and think about the smartphones when they first started. All of them have changed into a behemoth of an industry. In this video, let's break it down why I feel Palantir is at an inflection point of becoming a necessity, and we're starting right now. If you head over to Palantir's website, you will see a message from their CEO which says performance softwares are no longer a luxury. So I'm going to share some stats which are mind-boggling and scary at the same time. Take a look at this. The first image you will see on your screen will show you the total number of cyber attacks requests we received in one day. 1.5 billion right here. If I zoom it in, if you see over here 27th August to 28th August, and you can see over here that we received a massive number of 1.5 billion of cyber attacks in just one day. Now take a look at the next chart. So in March of 2022, and these are of course all the stats on where they came from, where they originated. I'm not going to go in there, but the next image I want to bring your attention to. So in March of 2021, we had a total of 276 cyber events that took place. These were the breaches. Okay, compare that with previous years right here. 187 events in March of 2020, 145 in 2019, and 98 events in 2018. Now, if you compare this number, you can tell that the events have picked up steam a lot more in 2021 as compared to 2020 and the years before. Now, let's switch gears for a second. And from cyber attacks, let's come back to cyber uses. And I promise there is a Palantir connection here. Give me a second and I'll explain. So in 2020, right here, as you can see, we saw a major increase in internet uses. From basic internet users to social media to mobile users, the digital population grew in billions thanks to the pandemic and the remote work. Now you can see in January of 2021, we had billions and billions of users for these active platforms, all the way from active internet users to mobile users to social media active users. There's a huge number or a huge jump that we saw in 1 year. Now this shift helped in creating zettabytes. I'm talking about millions and millions of zettabytes of data in 2020 alone. The water cooler talks turned into quick emails, or peek in the office turned into a Slack message. All those notifications helped to create crazy amount of data in 2020 alone. Let's take a look at some staggering stats. Okay, the big data analytic market is set to reach 103 billion by 2023. Poor data quality cost US economy up to 3.1 trillion yearly. In 2020, every person generated 1.7 MB of data in just a second. I remember the time when the computer first started to come out and there was like 50 MB of RAM in it, and that was like a great deal. Oh my God, 50 MB of RAM is huge. Now we are generating 1.7 MB in just a second. Internet users generate about 2.5 quintillion bytes of data each day. Huge number, huge number. This is where Palantir comes in. We know Palantir as a cool company who's solving these big problems with supply chain and wind farm and of course autonomous driving, those all kind of things. But very few of us are actually aware of where Palantir can come for rescue. So let's explore what it means for Palantir. Palantir has so many, of course, use cases. The industries they serve are countless. So what makes Palantir so usable or scalable? So in Palantir's definition, this is what they're saying. So Palantir is saying this is a day one value, decision advantage across organization, full stack deployment, and military grade security and data privacy. Of course, this is all big words and make more sense for somebody who is actually in that industry or actually has a use case for Palantir. Now, I'm not going to go into that, and I'm going to nerd it out a little bit more and show you a few lines from a book that is available on Amazon on Palantir Foundry, and full credit to the author Kai. I'm not even going to try to pronounce his last name. It's too hard for me to say. This author is basically trying to tell us about what is the use case for Palantir Foundry, and I promise you that after reading these two lines, you will understand that how easy it is to understand this software. Okay, here it is. So it can not only be a consumer of data, but rather becomes a central data hub which facilitates a virtuous cycle where analytics drive operational decisions rather than being separate from them. Okay, again, big words, we're not going to go over it. Now, here's what it gets really interesting. This book focuses on small subset of self-service elements of the Foundry, mainly Contour and reports. Okay, just pay attention to these two words. Now come back here. Another paragraph from the book. There is no waste like compiler runs, setup procedures, or entering a special credential for accessing a resource. This means the users with classic business skills in spreadsheets, applications, or even database system can express their business knowledge in Foundry after a very small learning curve. Now with this type of strength where a user can come in and with little or no knowledge of Foundry or any special software can actually perform end-to-end operation is huge. And this is where the true power of software comes in. See, with the rapid shift in no-code or low-code application, the consumer appetite to learn new system is decreasing day by day. Remember the old days when you buy a new tech and have to read those big heavy manuals for setup, spend hours trying to troubleshoot? All of those days are gone. Now we expect all the tech to work perfectly out of the box. And that is what's translating into this business world. Anytime a new software is deployed, we want that software to work from the day one. Palantir is turning out to be a necessity in the modern world as world realizes that we are going to live in pandemic life for a longer than expected time. Not so good news for us, but great news for Palantir alike because they are going to thrive in this world. And we can witness this strength in the stock as well. So let's talk about the stock and what trades make sense at this stage. So let me just take you and talk about the stock price right here on Palantir. So looking at the chart, this is clear that Palantir is on a bullish run, and actually the whole market is on a bullish run. And we cannot ignore the fact that NASDAQ, S&P 500 and all major exchanges are making new highs. And that is making everyone a bit nervous. And if you ask any experienced trader, they will tell you that be prepared for a pullback. Well, that is music to my ears, and let me show you how. So for Palantir, I'm in absolute love with this move because this means I can now sell covered call very comfortably at a higher strike price for a shorter time frame to make more money. Let me explain. So this is what I did on my Palantir holding. I hold about 3,000 shares of Palantir. I went ahead and I sold 30 covered calls for my 3,000 shares for $27.50 for September 3rd expiration for, of course, and I took in about $584.50. Now a week before, I did the same thing. I sold 30 Palantir call for 27 strike price and the expiration was August 27th. Of course, Palantir did not hit $27 last Friday. What I did on Friday was I bought those calls back so that I can close the position and open a new position. So when I bought those calls back, I had to pay $30, which is fine because I got about like $480 to sell the covered calls. And then when I bought them back, I paid $30 and then I went ahead the same day over here on the 27th and I sold 30 more calls, but this time I went in at $27.50 because I know that Palantir has that strike of $27.50 or a resistance of $27.50. I got in about 20 cents to sell those calls, or in dollar terms about $584.56. Now what I'm going to do is on Friday or Thursday, I'm not sure yet, I'm going to see the market. I'm going to go ahead, if I see that the Palantir could hit $27.50, I could go ahead and buy those call back or roll my options over to the next week expiration for a different strike. But I'm not going to do that because I feel because of the job reports coming out, because we have seen these 3 days of green, we can see a pullback for a day or two. And that'll be perfect for me to either close my position, I'm right now making 46% on this position, or let it remain open and basically let it expire worthless, making everything or the entire amount of $584.56. I'm doing this every week. So I feel that with the bullish sentiment in the stock market and all the noise Palantir has made in the recent earnings, I have no doubt that we are going to see the stock keep climbing higher in the near future. But I'm taking advantage of higher RSI. Palantir's RSI is right now above 60, and anytime we have seen it hit 80, it has seen a pullback. And that is why I'm keeping my trades for closer expiration. Like for example, I do it on a Monday for a Friday expiration because I can close or roll my trade for a later expiration if the stock keep climbing higher. But we have seen time and again that towards the end of the week, stock market does take a breather, and that is why I'll take advantage of and get out of this trade, making close to 80%, if not 100%. And then I'll do the whole thing again for another week. On my 3,000 share, I make about $500 every week. And you can also do that if you have 100 shares or more. So I recently did a video where I shared all my Palantir trades. I'm going to link it up here. If I provided any value, then consider subscribing and hit the like button so we can reach out to more Palantir lovers. As always, thank you for joining me. Love you all. Until next time, you all have a sparkling life.